My name is Alex Bregman. I'm working for Google with news publishers on a lot of different products related to news. So today I had a chance to talk about the Google Assistant and how news publishers can take part of being on the Assistant on a lot of different experiences. So today when we talk to news publishers, we mostly talk about 3 different experiences. So the first one is audio related. That's the main canonical experiences of an assistant, right? So you take out the assistant on your smartphone or on the smart speaker and you ask that assistant, hey Google, what's the news? Or you say, hey Google, I want to listen to the news of publisher X, right? So that is an experience that is very popular already today. And in order to take part in that, it's very easy. You just need to have an RSS feed with your audio content spoken by a human being. And we then, and that experience can then be triggered by these kind of queries such as, hey Google, what's the news? So that's number 1. The second part is on text. Text, why is that important? Because Assistant is also available on smartphones like iOS, on Android devices. And when you open up Google Assistant on your Android phone, for example, and you ask, hey Google, what's the latest news on Trump, for example, or any other topic, we will surface you AMP articles, AMP stories, AMP articles. And AMP articles are certainly just available, also on Google search. So the very easy way to take part in that is simply by creating AMP pages that a lot of publishers already do. So that's number 2. Number 3, there's also video components. That is it's a very new experience, and that is already available today on Android TV and Chromecast, for example. But we have also announced just this year in January at CES in Vegas, we announced the launch or the upcoming launch of smart displays. And smart displays are essentially smart speakers that also have an approximately 8-inch screen with them, and that will allow for a much more interesting experience potentially. When you're listening to an audio news brief, there will be also visual components, right? So that could be just a logo, or it can even be a video, right? So important to keep in mind with smart speakers, they're different than a smart display. A smart display then is made in a way that you can glance on the display to get more content. You don't necessarily have to touch it. So it's really made as a voice-first device. So video is really coming up in this whole assistant world, and it's still early days on that. Just the last part that is very interesting, especially to experiment with for startups, for people really trying to find a new use case for the use case of news. That would be Actions on Google, where you can build apps for the Google Assistant. So the way to trigger that is very easy. You take out Google Assistant, or you talk to your Google Assistant's smart speaker, and you ask, hey Google, I want to talk to a particular brand. Okay Google, I want to talk to The Economist Espresso.
Okay, let's get Economist Espresso.
I can tell you today's agenda, the world in brief, or quote of the day. Which one would you like?
World in brief.
Okay. Britain and the EU conditionally agreed a post-Brexit transitional deal, thus avoiding a cliff-edge separation before a trade deal is struck. Britain will remain subject.
All right, so basically what we have here is that the assistant allows you to connect directly to your brand. And then the experience that I'm getting is completely up to that publisher, up to that developer to come up with. In this case, The Economist did quite a classical app where they show you the news in brief, the top 5 stories, and a quote of the day. Now, this could be anything else. Another example I mentioned would be Huffington Post that did something completely different, and they made a headline quiz for users to play with, basically to understand how up to date they are on the latest news. So it's a quiz, it's a game, interesting to come back and play with your friends potentially. So again, this gives a whole new field of innovation for classic publishers, but also to completely new developers that want to test and use this platform to do something completely innovative. Look, if we're talking about Assistant, Assistant certainly has this voice aspect that is really important, right? Because essentially we want you to be able to speak to your assistant, and that the assistant can help you to get things done during the day, to keep you up to date, and to really make your life easier. Whether it's to turning on your light or turning up the temperature in your room, to educating you about the news, telling you about different topics, or other simple things like just setting your alarm, right? And all of that is simply done with voice. So voice is really, really critical when you talk about assistant. Video is, the way we look at it, it's certainly right now a bit of a supplementary aspect of an assistant, right? It just improves that experience. But when we talk about assistant, I would say voice is certainly number one. That is the way we want to interact with users, and video is just helping and aiding that experience.